Hey there. So, a number of you have asked, what the heck are you bringing on the John Muir Trail, Amanda, for food? You're this culinary dietitian, you teach intuitive eating. So, what do you eat when you're going to go on a long distance adventure? So, first of all, I'm going to be packing about 7.5 days worth of food initially, packing that with me in my bear bin here. And then I'm also right now packing a box that's going to go with a resupply that's going to be mailed to us. And then another resupply that a friend is going to be bringing in. So not carrying all 2.5 weeks worth of food at one time, but pretty significant amount at one time. The other things that I'm trying to keep in mind are, of course, satisfaction. You hear me talk a lot about leading with satisfaction when you're choosing your meals and snacks. And that's super important, one, when you're being active and your hunger cues can get tamped down by the rush of endorphins from being active consistently and also somewhat rigorously. And then also, we're going to be at elevation. So we're going to be anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 feet most of the time with some additional high passes. And when you're at elevation, that can also tamp down your hunger cues. So it's really important to be choosing foods that are going to be satisfying and I'm going to look forward to eating, hopefully, and even when I'm not feeling super hungry, because my body's still going to need the nourishment. I'm also looking at foods from a place of nutrition. Am I getting in enough complex carbohydrates to give me steady energy throughout the days? Am I getting enough protein to help my muscles repair themselves after each day of hiking and carrying my full pack? And then, of course, making sure if there's complex carbs, there's going to be some fiber, but I don't want a ton of extra fiber. Again, from a GI standpoint, when you're exercising this rigorously and also potentially when you're at elevation, potentially your GI tract is going to be shut down a little bit. And so digestion can get a little bit wonky when we're doing adventures like this. So with all of that said, let's take a look at what's in each one of these boxes and the bear bin.
Okay, so let's take a look at what's in one of the boxes. This is the box that's going to get mailed to me, but remember, I'm trying to get as much nutrition in for the least amount of weight because I'm going to be sharing the contents of the 5-gallon bucket with my other hiking partners, and we can only send so much by weight. And I want to be saving as much space as possible because, again, 3 of us have to get into this bucket. So let's take a look at what I'm taking for breakfast, lunches, dinners, and some snacks. So let's start with the snacks first. So I have some crackers. These are the Mary's Gone crackers. They're pretty decent in terms of protein for a cracker because they've got brown rice and quinoa and flax seeds and chia seeds in there. Not super high in the fiber like you might think with those ingredients, which is okay because that will reduce the digestive response to it, less gas and bloating, but still some nice sustained energy coming from the complex carbohydrates. So I'll take these crackers and make up some dehydrated protein or peanut butter powder. So this just happens to be, it's like PB2, but it is a different brand than PB2. But using 2 tablespoons of the powder to 2 tablespoons of water, as you can see there, gives me about 12 grams of protein, pretty decent for the start of a lunch anyway. And then added that with these crackers, that's going to be getting me close to 20 grams of protein right there. Now, another lunch option is going to be these packages of fish, either salmon or we have some tuna here too, also could be used with the crackers. And the other go-to I have for snacks or for lunches is some pumpkin seeds. So these are some sea salt pumpkin seeds, which can be really helpful, not only from a protein standpoint, but also they're pretty high in iron. So for those of us that are still having crazy heavy periods in perimenopause and we want to be active like this, having some foods that are rich in iron is really helpful to have along. From a produce standpoint, obviously, I'm not bringing fresh fruits and vegetables, but I do like having these That's It bars. These happen to be apples and blueberries. I'm also going to take some of these gummies, which I've not used on a trip before, but I think they're going to work great. They're mango and blueberry. And so just some way to get in some dried fruit. And packaging everything in these plastic bags lets me kind of package things tight and concise and pack them into a small space, like the 5-gallon bucket that this is all going to go into. And also another option for lunches or snacks are these crunchy chickpeas. I believe Bonita is the name of the brand. And this is just their sea salt flavor. They tend to be about the same protein content as, say, some mixed nuts, but they're a lot lighter than mixed nuts. So you get about 6 grams of protein per serving. Let's be honest, most of us are going to eat more than one serving at one time. So probably getting close to 12 grams of protein and some decent complex carbohydrates as well. My other favorite go-to bars are Thunderbird bars. These just happen to be 2 flavors. I like most of their flavors. I like that they are fig or date based, which gives me some nice consistent energy type carbs, some nice complex carbohydrates. They're not super high in protein, but that's okay because I'm going to use these more for quick energy, either on the trail or as a part of a lunch. If I want something with more protein, I'm going to use these Rise bars. So I've tried these once before. The taste is pretty decent. I don't love the lemon flavor, to be honest. I mean, it's fine, but it's not quite of a strong enough flavor to cover up the plant-based protein, which in this case is coming from a pea and brown rice protein blend, which can be a little chalky at sometimes. So I think I would prefer this if it was a chocolate flavored, and that cocoa powder would really cover up the protein flavor of it. But it is what it is. They're not terrible. I am still kind of leading with satisfaction, and the blend of the protein as well as some complex carbohydrates coming from dates in these bars will be really helpful. So let's take a look at our meals. So my first meal option that's I think has been useful on a lot of different trips are these ramen noodles combined with some dried veggies, and I also put in some dried nettle in there for some extra greens. I use the Lotus brand of ramen noodles. It tends to be higher in protein, and then made with more whole grains, so some nice complex carbohydrates, nice steady energy. The cool thing about this meal, not only does it pack into a pretty small package, but it is decent enough calories, especially if I add in some of that PB2 peanut butter or I add one of the fish packets to it. And I can either cold soak this, meaning that I don't have to rehydrate it in hot water and use fuel to boil water. And so then I could make this up in the morning time. We could hike all day and I could have this ready for lunch or for dinner without having to use any fuel. So that's a really cool plus of this lunch option or dinner option. The other brand that I like to use is Nomad Nutrition, and I've got several different varieties. I've got a lentil back there. This is a California bowl, and this is a Kathmandu kind of curry blend vegetables. And then I get some of their quinoa, instant quinoa flakes, and I add to each one of these meals, again, for some additional calories, but also some protein, some fiber, and some additional nutrients coming out of the quinoa. You see how these are packaged in a plastic bag and including a moisture packet in there too. I buy all of these in bulk, so I buy 5 servings of one flavor, and then I broke it down into my own packaging. So by doing that and packaging into these Ziploc bags, I get a full meal for not much space compared to the package it would have normally come in, or even their single serving packages. So I bring a mug, an insulated mug that I rehydrate this stuff in, and then I don't have to be having the garbage of the leftover, say, meal packet that I made the meal right in the packet that it came from. That's pretty common. And I won't have that additional garbage, and I'll just end up with a bunch of empty sacks, hopefully, at the end of this. So this is going to be a dinner option. Like I said, I've got 3 different flavors in there between a lentil, the Kathmandu curry, and then the California kind of black bean bowl option. Now let's take a look at breakfast. So here is our friend overnight oats. Everybody's probably familiar with that. And this just happens to be the backpacking version of it. So I took some regular rolled oats and some powdered milk. This happens to be made with powdered soy milk for a little additional protein. Of course, there's going to be some good complex carbohydrates from those rolled oats. And I put in some cocoa nibs for some chocolate flavor and crunch, some hemp seeds for additional protein. And then I put in, as you can see here, flavor of some curry powder, some ginger powder, which will be really nice on the cold mornings. at over 8,000, 10,000 feet. And this will be 2 breakfasts for me. So if I pour 1 cup of this, about half of the contents of this package in, again, that insulated cup, fill it up with either cold water at night and cold soak it through the evening time, through the nighttime, and have it ready to go in the morning. Or I could make it as a hot oatmeal in the morning as well. So that's one option for breakfast. If we need to do a quick getaway in the morning, I'll be able to use one of these for a grab and go breakfast. And I've also made up smoothie powder. So this is a complete smoothie mix powder. It's made with hemp protein powder, that's the green here, some cocoa powder, some blueberry powder, that's the pink, and then I made it with some soy milk for additional protein. So again, I'm trying to go for as much nutrition as possible, some complex carbs, some vitamins and minerals, and aiming for about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. It's probably still going to be a little bit under, to be honest, for what we're doing. But again, can only carry so much, and just trying to get in as much as we can. Other kind of go-to options for on the trail are these energy bites from Nativa, I believe is the brand. And I might use these for a dessert at night, have a couple of these, but they're also, because they're nice and compact, they'll fit in the waist pockets of the hip belt on my pack that I can easily grab while I'm en route. I'm also going to take some of the Justin's nut butter, peanut butter packets. They just haven't arrived yet. So I'll be taking those with me and packing them in the bear bin there. So there you have it. That's what I'm going to eat for 2.5 weeks on the John Muir Trail. And we'll follow up with a video when I get back to see how it all goes. So until then, if you got questions, don't forget you can always email me at amanda@alpinenutrition.org. Happy to answer your questions. Take care.